Hello, we are going to learn today about mosaic plots. So you've learned already in the 1.1 notes about bar graphs and about segmented bar graphs, and now we're going to add to that with the mosaic plot. So let's go with what you already know to start with. So it says, when the high school was built in 1969, the school needed to pick a mascot. The principal decided to have the students and teachers vote between the three choices: Rams, Falcons, or Prairie Dogs. He took a random sample of students and a random sample of teachers. The results of the surveys are given in the table below. So we look at this table, and they've even broken it into percentages for us, and it asks us to create two bar graphs below to display the results and to use three different colors for the bars. Okay, so let me scroll this up, and we can see we're going to do the teachers group first. So I'm going to use purple because I like purple. And we're going to go for the Rams. There were 80% of the teachers. Ooh, yeah, I don't draw very well. That's one of my... I can't even draw a straight line, guys. That's just sad. Okay, so there are my teachers. And then, my Rams, teacher Rams. And then of the teachers, 10% voted for the Falcons. So, and they wanted that in a different color. So let me change the color real quick. Okay, and that was 10%. Usually these bars are the same width, but like as I said, this drawing thing is just not my gig. I actually had a really good friend that she was a artist, and she actually did my nursery when I was about to have my baby. She did my nursery in Noah's Ark. She did like a mural of three walls of Noah's Ark, so it was pretty awesome. And she came into my room one time, and she saw me trying to. I was teaching geometry at the time, and saw me trying to draw, and later she was like, hey, do you want me to give you lessons in the summer? Probably should have taken her up on them, but I figure, I've got to give you as many reasons as possible to make fun of me. So, all right, so there's the Falcons. They were at 10%, and then 10% of the teachers asked for Prairie Dogs, which that's a whole nother, that's weird, but that's okay. And so that's 10%, but teachers can be weird, so we'll go with it. Okay, and usually these bars, like I said, are the same width. All right, so there's the teachers. Now we're going to do the students. So for Rams, we'll go with purple. For the Rams, since we use purple on the Rams over here, the students said 30% of the students said Rams. So we're going to do 30% for Rams. Okay. And then 60% said Falcons. And Falcons was in blue. So we're going to do Falcons in blue. And they said 60%. Okay. I'm just scribbling for you. Okay, and then Prairie Dogs, 10% of the students said Prairie Dogs. So we had weird students too, so that's exciting. All right, so 10% of the students said Prairie Dogs. Okay, and so those are just side-by-side bar charts. So that's what that side-by-side bar chart looks like. All right, and so now we're going to create, and then it says complete the third graph by taking each bar from the teacher sample and stacking them. Use colors to mark each section, and do the same for the student sample. Okay, so we're going to start with the teacher sample, and we're going to start with Rams. And what we know is that on a segmented bar chart, it always goes all the way up to 100%. I don't know why I don't use a ruler. That would be like really useful, wouldn't it? But it wouldn't be near as much fun either. And I don't have a ruler. What math teacher doesn't have a ruler? All right, well, anyway, so we're going to go up to 100%, and I find that it's a lot easier to go ahead and draw in that 100%. And then we'll do the same for the students. We'll just draw in the 100%. And then color in the shades. So for Rams, it was 80% on the teachers. And so, you know, I can outline that now. Whoa, I have a clicker on my pen and I'm always hitting it. Okay, so there's the Rams. Okay, and then for the students, 30% said Rams. We're going to put that in. Okay, and then for the teachers, they said 10% said Falcons, so we're going to put 10% in. So we're adding 10 to the 80, so that would make this 90. Okay. And then for the students, we're adding 60 to the already 30 that we have. So this will also come up to 90. Okay. And then what's left is the prairie dogs. Because who doesn't want a good prairie dog for a mascot? That's exciting. I'm sure they're vicious, so I just don't know it. All right, so there is what we have for our segmented bar graph, okay? So then it says, according to your display, which mascot appears to have the most support? So, I mean, as you look at this, oh, you know, and I probably should label this for you just a little bit. Let me go ahead and do that. So this was, black is fine. This was these were bar graphs, okay? And then this second one, the second one we did, I'll say number 2. Number 1 was the bar graph. Number 2 was the segmented bar graph. Or bar graphs, I should say. Okay? And it asks, according to your display, which mascot appears to have the most support. And, I mean, it looks like if you stacked them, let me move it back down so you can see it. As you look at the stacks, it looks definitely like the most support would go with the Rams. You'll agree with that as you look at that? Okay. So as we look at this, we're going to go with the Rams. And so, because, I mean, if you look, there's 80% here and 30% here. And so it does look like maybe the Rams are taking the cake here. Okay, and you could even look at the chart to kind of decide that. Okay, like if I scroll this down and looked at the chart, it definitely looks like there's more for the Rams, right? There's 100. I mean, that's kind of a weird number, but you've got 80% here and 30% here, and so it looks like it's the Rams. So that's what we're going to say in answer to this. So we're going to say the Rams. Whoa. If you stacked the bars for the Rams together, for teachers and students, it would be taller than the bars for the Falcons or prairie dogs, right? So if you stack the bars for the Rams together for teachers and students, it would be taller than the stacked bars. Ran out of room. For what were other mascots? Falcons or prairie dogs. I don't have enough space here. So if we were to stack the bars for the Rams, that would definitely be taller than either of the other two. Okay? So upon hearing the results, though, the students argued that the decision was incorrect because 100 teachers had been surveyed and 500 students had been surveyed. So if we use this information to fill in the table below with a number of responses. So now let's think about this. So we had 100 teachers. So let's start with 100 teachers, okay? So if we go back up to this, let me scroll up so you can see it. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, let me scroll back up. So when you look at the teachers, it was 80% of 100, right? Which means there were 80 of them. And then 10 of them said falcons and 10 of them said prairie dogs. So that's 80, 10, 10. So let's write that in for the teachers. Okay. So 80, 10, 10. And then if we look at students now, we're doing the percent out of 500, right? So when we come back up here, we're going to say 30% of 500. So 0.3 times 500, which is 150. And then 60% of 500. So 0.6 times 500 would be 300. So this would be 150, 300, and then 10% of 500 would be 50. Okay, so let me go back down here and write that in. Okay, so we said 150 for the Rams. We said 300 for the Falcons. And we said 50 for the prairie dogs. So then it says how many more students were sampled than teachers. Okay, how many more students were sampled than teachers? Or not how many more, but how many times more. So how many times more students were sampled? So if you got 100 teachers and 500 students, it was 5 times more students than teachers. So how can you update the third graph that we did up there, make a third graph really, in order to take into account the sample size? So in other words, what we're going to do now is we're going to come back up here and we're going to basically adjust our graph to show that there were actually a lot more students voting than teachers. And the way we can do that is we know there's 5 times more students than teachers. So what we can do is we can add 4 more of these bars right here. So I'm going to just draw those in, and I'm going to have to do them touching in order to get it, to get them all in. So that's 1, 2, 3. They should all go up to 100%. I'll do this. 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 more. 5. Barely made it. And then I'll basically color them all the same, right? So I'm just going to go across here. Okay. And then we had this going on. So each of these bars look the same, but I'm taking into account that there were more students voting. And then here is our, y'all have to forgive my coloring. Well, I'm being kind of lazy in the coloring just for time purposes. You don't want to sit there and watch me color probably. And so what we call this, where we take into account basically the width, is representing the fact that there were 5 times more students than teachers that voted. And that is, this little piece right here is what we call the Mosaic Plot. Okay, so this situation right here is called a Mosaic Plot. Mosaic Plot. Okay, so that final plot. Okay, so let's go back up here. Answer the rest of the questions here. So it says, what should they make the mascot's name? Or what kind of mascot should they go with? Well, now that you see the situation, if you were to stack all of the, you know, in our case it was the purple, so all the Rams, and you were to stack all the Falcons and stack all the Prairie Dogs, it turns out that Falcons would have the higher stack. There were more people that chose falcons. If you look at these totals, the totals are, and I'll just write in here total. The total was 230 here, it was 310 here, and it was 60 here. Now when you look at the stack, clearly more people voted for the Falcons, right? And so we would say the Falcons there were more people who chose Falcons. There were 310 people who chose Falcons than other mascots. So compared to like the 230 or the 60, right? So you can see in the new graph, because, and I'll write this out so that if there's a room, okay, yeah. So I'll write that out. So you can see in this new graph, because the Falcon sections cover most of the area, okay? So you can see in the new graph, which we said was the Mosaic Plot, that Falcons cover most of the area. And so that's not too bad, right? I mean, it's just a matter of taking into account, the width takes into account that there were 5 times more teachers than by having 5 bars compared to the 1. Okay? So hopefully that explains it. So now you'll do the other side or the second page of this worksheet and make sure that you know what's going on. Let me look. I thought there was a second page. Yeah, there is. Let me go ahead and just highlight your learning objectives here, important ideas before we go on. Let me make this bigger. And then I'll let you finish this, because you should have what you need to finish this now. So, important ideas. Okay? So, so first thing is, by now you should know categorical versus quantitative, right? So, categorical versus quantitative. Y'all can hear the line going out there. Quantitative. The dog barking. it's getting real. All right. So categorical variables, remember, take on values that are names or labels. And take on values that are names or labels and really we're talking about here just they're being grouped. They're in groups, okay? So when we say names or labels, we're really just talking about groups, right? But quantitative variables are numerical and measure quantity. They're numerical and measure a quantity. You may be able to see the other filled in notes better. It's nicer writing than mine. And then the second main idea that we had in this section was, and this isn't topic 2.2, I think the worksheet I got this from, that was their topic, but we're still in chapter 1. So, displays of categorical variables. How do you display categorical variables? Well, you do it with bar graphs, which is what you saw here. You could do it with pie charts, which we did in the first little section. You can do it with segmented bar graphs. And now we know we can add to that. You can use Mosaic Plots. Okay. And so each bar in the segmented bar chart, remember each bar shows the proportion of individuals in each corresponding group. All right, and then what is association? Because we've been seeing that a lot. An association is basically, we say they're associated if knowing the value of one variable helps predict the value of the other variables. Okay. Okay, and if you can tell that, then you would say they are associated. Okay, so if knowing one helps you know the other, then we would say basically that they are associated. Okay, and the mosaic plot here is just, it's a modified segmented bar graph, right? So mosaic plot is just a modified segmented bar graph. Okay, and it takes into account the actual counts or the number in each grouping. Okay, so hopefully that gets you going, and you can check your understanding now with this next little problem, and you can check that with a key. And if you couldn't read my writing, I have a key that looks better, so I'll attach that as well. So so do this problem, or these few problems. I guess there's a couple. It's one problem, but an A, B, and C. And so finish this up and then check it with my key, and have a great day.